What about Scully?
Reassigning them to other sections seems only to have strengthened their determination. Scully's a problem. A much larger problem than you described.
Every problem has a solution.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode 31 of Most Unwanted, an X-Files podcast. I'm Chex and I'm joined as always by Luke. Luke, how's it going?
I'm not too bad. I didn't know how to respond to that then for some reason. I was like, caught off guard that you asked me how I was.
I mean, it's not like we sat down intentionally ready to record a podcast. I did give you fair warning.
Well, yeah, as we sat there looking at the mic and everything. I'm doing good. It's been an interesting week, I suppose.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Well, I mean...
Doesn't sound that interesting.
This week hasn't happened yet.
yeah, that age-old debate. Yeah. What are you doing next week? That's what we should talk about.
Next week will be my birthday,
which is last week for our listeners.
Yeah. Anyway, it will be my birthday on the Monday of that weekend. So age me if you want.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know what I'm doing for it now. I think we're going out on the Saturday for it, and then Sunday I'm probably going out as well. The Monday I'm going out as well.
Oh, nice.
We're going to see that new, what's it called, the Bohemian Rhapsody film.
Yeah.
So
okay, interesting.
So yeah,
I do want to have a watch of that.
Yeah, I mean, I've not seen Rami Malek in anything since Until Dawn. I think I know he's in that. What's it, Mr. Robot? But I've just never sat in and watched it.
I've heard it's good.
Yeah,
I've heard it's really good, but I've never watched it myself.
And seeing him in the trailers for this, he looks exactly like Freddie Mercury, so
yeah.
I don't know, it looks interesting. I'm trying to stay away from reviews and stuff like that. I'm just going to go into it and see how it goes, pretty much, but that'll be my week.
Oh, fair enough.
How about yourself?
Oh, we talked over each other a little bit there.
It's fine, speeds everything up.
Yeah, it does, yeah. If we should do the whole podcast, just constantly talking.
I agree, yeah, we should.
What am I doing next week? Or last week? This is so confusing. I'm going to. I keep on just dropping it casually into conversation at the moment, but one life centers around it right now. Obviously, I work at a brewery, and our brewery. I don't know whether anyone outside the UK will know about the brand. I'm not sure how globally aware the brand is, but we brew Hobgoblin, which is one of the biggest craft beers in the world. Mm-hmm. And obviously it's big in Halloween, so I'm going to one of their social media events, as it's called the Hobgoblin Inn. It's like this big social media event next week. It can be found all over Facebook and whatnot. It's going to be a live show. So I'm going to go to that, and I honestly don't know what to expect, but I'm looking forward to it.
I think initially when you were telling me about it, we were tossing up the idea of you turning up in a Most Unwanted t-shirt. I
felt like that would be in bad taste. on company's time, promoting my own show.
Well, don't ask, don't get.
It's a good point. I might bring a sign. Just hashtag Most Unwanted.
Yeah. Keep it low key.
Yeah. Or just put stickers all around the bar.
Exactly.
Yeah, but the problem is, it doesn't take a lot for the company to work out it's me that's done that, and then I get fired.
Maybe not. Yeah. For now, anyway.
Well, I'll see what I can do. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. So that should be a lot of fun. Apparently, there's a lot of it's obviously horror themed, so there's going to be some sort of scary aspects to. I think it's like a sort of game show. Again, it's all top secret. No one knows exactly what they're getting themselves in for. So, it's going to be interesting. And by all means, tune in on Facebook. It's on Hobgoblin's Facebook page. So yeah, by all means, tune in and see what it's about. And you'll probably be finding out at the same time as me.
I mean, I know this will be coming out after Halloween.
Yeah,
but we're looking into the future. do you have any Halloween plans, I suppose, this year? Or have you got any plans surrounding Halloween this year?
This year, not really.
No.
Usually we'll have like a sort of party of sorts where we dress up. But this year I don't really have anything planned.
No.
Yeah, I mean, the only plan I've got is for bonfire night. Yeah. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
And outside the UK, I don't think bonfire night's a thing, is it?
No, it's
Guy Fawkes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's a specific UK thing.
But yeah, just basically a night where everyone in the country lets off fireworks, basically,
pretty much
in celebration of a terrorist,
a failed terrorist,
Guy Fawkes. But I'm pretty sure the story's pretty well known.
Oh yeah,
because of, you know,
I mean, they made like a TV show with the guy from what's his name, Jon Snow from.
And I was thinking more like V for Vendetta. And
stuff
like that.
I mean,
made Guy Fawkes a pretty famous worldwide figure.
I was thinking that they made like a historical based show with what's the guy's name now? Jon Snow.
I've got no idea.
Yeah, we'll keep calling him Jon Snow.
Yeah,
he's basically
Kit Harington.
That's it. Yeah, he plays one of the collaborators, not Guy Fawkes, but I can't remember the name of the guy who collaborated with it. But yeah. It's about them and
Schmorks.
yeah, we'll go with that. It's really good, to be fair, though, because it sort of shows you what they were like, and ultimately they were trying to do something that would kill hundreds of people. But you could kind of see why. You know what I mean? Like, they were really persecuted as like people.
No, don't put this podcast on a list somewhere.
I mean, I don't feel like the government's looking at Catholic terrorists at the moment. That's not really their bag. Or Protestant. I can't remember which side it was. But
you're not neither.
I know. I was just saying it was a good program. I'm not like picking sides here. But
have you got any plans for Halloween?
No, nothing as such. I usually like sort of try and watch a load of different like horror films. Or at the moment, I've been watching a series, like a horror series. I've been watching. Have you heard of Channel Zero? I don't know if I've brought it up in the podcast before.
I haven't, no.
They do like these anthology like series where it's like each series is about a different story. And I started watching the first one. It's called Candle Cove, and it's basically about this TV show from the 80s that these kids were all watching.
Oh, you did mention it in the previous episode, actually.
Did I mention it?
Yeah, you definitely did, yeah.
But I've been watching that recently. I'm only up to like the fourth episode so far, but it's really got like really good. Like I'd recommend it because it's like 6 episodes. It's like 45 minutes an episode, so it's not long, and you could probably get through it by Halloween time. It's really good.
Give it a shot. Yeah.
The only trouble is, in the UK, it's hard to watch. You have to... The way I'm doing it at the moment...
Don't implicate yourself in any crimes.
It's completely legal.
Okay.
I'm watching it on a service called Shudder, which is like a horror network.
Yeah.
But it's only on the US version of Shudder.
You're not using a VPN, I hope.
No, but I hear you can. But I'm watching it in some way using the Shudder service. Okay. So I am paying for it.
Might be a glitch in the system.
Exactly. I am paying for it, so I mean that's fine.
Yeah.
But no, I've watched up to the 4th episode. It's really good. I'd definitely recommend it, especially if you're into like it's got that kind of supernatural vibe to it as well. Like if you're interested in it.
To be fair, like out of all the sort of horror genres, I'm okay with the majority of them, but that supernatural sort of like The Exorcist and stuff like that, demons, they give me sort of sleepless nights.
Oh, right, okay.
Talking of Sleepless.
Hey! Let's get Sleepless in Seattle.
For God's sake. You can't just let me have a good segue, can you?
No, I feel like I have to do this every day.
Okay, let's get Sleepless in Seattle. On to the show. So we'll be looking at Season 2, Episode 4 of The X-Files today. It's titled Sleepless. The original air date was on 7th of October 1994. It was written by Howard Gordon, and the director was Rob Bowman. Now, before we get into the episode, we go on to everybody's favourite segment.
Luke's production notes.
Thanks once again to Tash for recording that lovely intro to the production notes. We have been tweeting Beyonce.
Yeah.
I think she might be like busy or ill because she's not
Something
tweeted
like that.
back.
Yeah.
Not yet, anyway.
Not yet. I mean, still hold out hope.
Well,
Maybe, maybe Jay-Z will tweet him and ask, is Beyonce okay? She's not replying.
That might... I mean, yeah, she might have dropped the phone.
Yeah.
I mean, she wouldn't just not reply.
I don't think so, no.
There's an issue somewhere. Maybe she's not got any cell service. So yeah, let's contact Jay-Z.
And what we're doing here, ladies and gentlemen, is we're playing the role of a stalker. Who is...
For comedy value.
Who is completely unable to see that person will never tweet them.
No, she will tweet us.
And here, Chex continues the character. Let us know what you think. Anyway.
Can we get the Seinfeld music here? Production notes. Let's
get on with it. So, Gordon, or Howard Gordon, based the idea of this episode on his own insomnia that he was suffering at the time. This was also his solo writing debut. He'd written episodes before, but they were always co-written. Chris Carter originally wrote a script in season 1 with similar themes, which included the perfect soldier and sleep experiments. And Carter explained in this episode that the characters were haunted by their memories in real life because they were not able to sleep. Carter also said that this episode was one of his favourites. So, make of that what you will. Nicholas...
That's interesting. Like, of all time, or just this season?
It didn't really say. The quote was just, it was one of his favourites, but that could be really vague.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
that's interesting.
One of his favourites of the series, or... I don't know. Anyway. Nicholas Lear, who played Alex Krycek, who we'll talk about more in the episode,
yes,
was actually in a previous episode of The X-Files.
Oh, was he? He
was a character in the episode Gender Bender. I don't think he was like a featured character. I think he was just in it.
In the background.
Yeah. I mean...
Was that the one with the Amish Society?
Yeah. But yeah, he was in that one. And they basically wrote him in as this Krycek character. They said that if... They always envisioned him as a recurring character, but they said if he didn't work, they'd kill him off.
Yeah.
Mr. X, we will go on about this, but we actually see him in this episode.
Yeah.
Originally, the role was written as a woman. And they actually cast a woman in this role, and they filmed the scene, but they didn't believe that they had the chemistry between the characters, so it was recast as Stephen Williams, who is the guy we see as Mr. X, as he'd previously worked with Glenn Morgan and James Wong.
Okay, interesting.
So,
I don't think it really makes a difference, but it seems
really
strange that they went from a woman to a man.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they were just trying to diversify like the cast a bit more, because at the moment, the only woman really in it is Scully.
Yeah, so why not stick with another woman? But
So, I don't know.
is that everything for the production notes?
That is me done, yeah.
Okay, so let's get on.
Maybe we need a sign out now.
Oh my... How many segments? Jesus.
I feel like, that would be one too many.
So, in this episode, we start off in New York. Typical bird's eye view. We start off with a bird's eye view of New York. And the camera cuts inside an apartment. And a man, who we later found out to be Dr. Saul Grissom, is watching TV on a couch. And he suddenly notices smoke coming from under his door. A lot of smoke. He opens the door to the hallway and is basically engulfed in flames. There's no way out.
This is, like, to me, is a nightmare, like being stuck in a high-rise and there's a big fire.
It just sounds horrendous, doesn't it? It really does. Well, it looks horrendous as well.
Yeah.
He panics, he calls 911, but the flames just are coming relentlessly through the door, like everything's catching fire. He attempts to fight it with a fire extinguisher, but it's not helping, and he eventually just starts cowering in the corner. Outside, we see the fire department turn up, and they're rushing up the stairs. They do pass a mysterious-looking guy who sort of just smiles at them as he goes past.
Yeah. See, at this point, I sort of was watching along, and I was thinking, how is this an X-File? You know what I mean? I thought this guy's started a fire.
Yeah, it's just an arson case at this point.
What's the big deal? I thought.
Yeah. Did you recognise the guy at this point?
I didn't at this point. It was later on, and then it clicked, and I was like, It's Candyman?
It is Candyman, yeah. I know that's his most famous role. I actually relate him more to Final Destination.
Yeah, he is. He's the creepy...
He's the guy that's in the morgue, isn't he?
Yeah. To be fair, every character he does is creepy.
I can't imagine him in a rom-com. Yeah. I really can't.
no. Yeah, he's typecast as creepy man forever.
There is one thing to note. He has a scar on the back of his neck, and the camera does sort of zoom in on this scar, so I did make a note of it. Yeah. Turns out to be very important. So yeah, the fire department get there, but they don't find a fire. There's no fire there. They check the handle. It's not hot. But they break into the door, make sure anyway. And they find Grissom in the corner where we left him, seemingly dead. But there's no fire. Nothing's burnt. Nothing's charred. It's I don't know. We don't know what happened, but he's just died.
Yeah. And this is where I was like, okay.
Yeah, this is why it's an X-File. Yeah. Because this is where we cut to the intro screen. Intro screen? I mean title screen.
Yeah.
So after the title screen, we go to Mulder's apartment. And Mulder opens the door to collect his daily newspaper. And as he picks it up, a tape falls out of it onto the floor. I mean, first I did notice just his casual clothes. It's just, I love, every time I see Mulder in something other than a suit, it just looks so strange that I mentioned it a couple of episodes ago, but all I think of is a Ken doll. And it's different outfits because he lives in a suit. That's the way I imagine him.
That's every time you see him, he's in that suit. He's either in his suit, his jogging gear.
Yeah, his trekking gear. We've seen him in his stealth gear.
Yeah,
and now we've seen casual gear.
Forgot about stealth Mulder.
Yeah, it's great. It's all these different outfits, and it just doesn't fit the character, but I love it. Upon further investigation of this newspaper, an article has been circled about the man from the start, Grissom, and it notes he was a doctor who specialised in sleep disorders. So Mulder listens to the tape, and it's actually the 911 call that Grissom makes. And whilst we're listening to it, we sort of transport to listening to it in Skinner's office. Yeah. Mulder's showing Skinner. He's telling them that the article made no mention of the fire. So obviously Grissom's reporting a fire, but the article doesn't make mention of it. Yeah. This is a strange one because Skinner seems unresponsive, but he also seems like he's on Mulder's side as well. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, this scene, it becomes way more interesting of a character, I think.
Yeah.
Especially in this, every episode we see him in, he gets a new layer to him.
I agree.
And it does open up his character a lot more. I'm really glad that he's become a main character.
Yeah,
and seemingly is on.
Yeah, and like you said, he's getting more layers. He's not one-dimensional anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
So Mulder requests to take the case on, and Skinner asks who gave him the tape. To which Mulder tells him the only source he ever trusted is dead. And there's this sort of awkward silence between the both of them.
I do wonder, has he spoke to anyone but Scully about Deep Throat?
I don't know.
This is interesting. He's opening that
but
up.
Skinner doesn't push. Do you know what I mean? He doesn't sort of... It's almost like he knows it's a sensitive subject. This is why it's so strange, because I feel like he is on Mulder's side, but he's got to still play this role. I don't know. I'm sure we'll find out as the season goes on. Skinner does agree to let him look into this, and he'll let him know whether he'll let him have the case. But he does go and ask him to transcribe 24 hours of wiretap in the meantime. Yeah. So he's still being punished. Yeah. So later that day, we see Mulder listening to the wiretap, and an agent approaches. He seems pretty nervous. Looks like a fairly new agent, quite a young guy. And he gives Mulder the file, telling him Skinner just approved the case. But Mulder does note that there's been a mistake, as there's another agent assigned to the case when he opens the file. And he tells him that's him, and he introduces himself as Alex Kerchak. Kerchak tells Mulder that he opened the file 2 hours before Mulder even mentioned it, and so technically it is his case. And then to prove that he knows what he's talking about, he tells him about the extinguisher, which Mulder doesn't seem to be aware of.
Yeah, it's new information.
Yeah. So Mulder isn't happy with this. He tells him he works alone. But fair play, Kerchak fights his corner. He's not going to get bullied by Mulder. He says, that basically, it's my case, you're not taking it away from me. I'm not going to let it go lightly.
Yeah.
So Mulder concedes and says, okay, you go get the car. I'll meet you down there.
Straight away, meeting this guy, I didn't trust him. I just had an instant distrust for him. But I feel like that's the X-Files that have made me that way. Like,
I know what you mean.
Don't trust new characters that they introduce. I'm just
Don't trust anyone?
Yeah.
That's not the phrase.
Don't trust anyone. That's Mulder. Yeah, Mulder says that.
Don't
trust anyone.
Don't trust anyone. That's the most unwanted phrase. Don't trust anyone.
Don't trust anyone.
You have to say it like that, though. You can't just say, like, don't trust anyone.
Yeah.
It's, don't trust anyone.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
sort of like a question.
Yeah. Is it a question? Is it a statement?
That's the question.
Oh, I don't know. I wouldn't trust it.
Yeah. Anyway.
I feel like we make ourselves laugh more than anybody else.
Yeah, everyone else is like, why is this funny? We don't know.
But instantly, I knew that Mulder was ditching this guy.
Yeah.
He was sending him around the bend. We cut to the FBI Academy in, I want to say Quantico. Quantico, Virginia. Scully is running a seminar, basically showing a class an autopsy. Mm-hmm. And a doctor interrupts and tells her she has a call from George Hale. We know who this is.
I like that they're using the same code name.
Yeah.
From before.
It's a nice little callback, and we know immediately it's Mulder's code name.
Yeah.
And he's on the phone, and he asks if she would like to sort out the autopsy for him on this case. She protests a little bit. She's busy. She's got classes all day. But eventually, she agrees to it and says, "Okay, yeah, I'll help you out." Again, another episode where we're not going to see Scully that much.
No, she's going to be sat down a lot.
Yeah. We then cut to the Grissom Sleep Disorder Centre in Stamford, Connecticut. And Mulder is talking to one of Grissom's old colleagues, another doctor, I assume. They discuss Grissom's bout of insomnia and sort of what he suffered with first. And this is as they're walking through the ward. But she confirms he never showed any signs of delusion or any sort of, I suppose, crazy signs, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They do discuss one of the patients, and she tells them that they are working on manipulating sleep patterns, which could theoretically change people's dreams externally, so you could do it from outside his mind. And
as soon as they said this, I started thinking, was it like, did this guy who we saw at the beginning kill somebody with a nightmare? Is that what this is?
Well, I mean, there was definitely not fire there.
Yeah.
And he saw fire, Grissom saw fire, so he's sort of putting it together that maybe it was a dream of some sort.
Yeah.
But she doesn't really go on any further.
No.
He does ask about, like, what do you mean manipulating sleep patterns? And she literally doesn't answer him. So Mulder eventually leaves and runs into Kerchak outside.
Yeah.
And he's angry. You can't ditch me in the office. I can't remember what he says, but it's like a bad date, I think he says.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, if we hadn't have followed Mulder and his story, and this was just us from the outside looking in, Mulder's been a bit of a dick, to be fair to this guy.
Yeah, of course he is, yeah.
But he's got reason to not trust people.
Yeah.
So, it's understandable.
It's true. So Kerchak's angry, and he's speaking to Mulder. Mulder doesn't seem to care. And Kerchak tells him that agents of the office make fun of him, talk about him behind his back. But he also goes on to say that some of them follow his work because they believed there was more than they were being told. And Mulder seems to react to this. He seems to sort of take a step back, think about what he's doing, but he's interrupted by a phone call.
At this point, I've thought, like, is he trying to actually befriend him and is he genuine or not?
Or is he trying to gain his trust?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I couldn't
trust no one.
Well, yeah. No, what was it?
I think no.
Don't trust anyone.
Don't trust anyone.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get that.
It's Scully on the phone, and she tells Mulder Grissom didn't die of cardiac arrest, like assumed. Mulder tells her he's on his way, and of course Kerchak tags along as well.
Yeah.
And we cut straight to it. It's again quite fast paced at the beginning. We're getting the story moving along quite well.
Yeah.
And Scully is shocked to see Mulder with a partner. Almost a little hurt, maybe.
Especially points later on, you do sense some kind of, I don't know if it's jealousy or just like joking,
like resentment, maybe. Yeah. I know what you mean. They go to see the body, and I love this bit because this body looks like it's sort of, what's it called when your body freezes? Rigor mortis, is it?
Yeah, when it freezes.
So obviously his arms are still up in the air, and she pulls the sheet back, and Kerchak visibly sort of flinches, and Mulder and Scully share this look and just go, rookie. Like, they can't, they just roll, basically they roll their eyes at him.
But I do wonder at this point, like, especially with what we know at the end of the episode, is this all an act? Is he trying to do this to try and appear more innocent than he actually is?
I never thought about that, but that might be interesting because, I mean, obviously, we are skipping ahead, but it turns out, we might as well just put it out because we want to talk about it throughout the episode.
Yeah.
It turns out that he's working for Cigarette Smoking Man.
Yeah.
And he's trying to gain Mulder's trust.
Yeah.
But that's a very good point because I'm assuming you don't get to work with Cigarette Smoking Man without being an experienced agent. They wouldn't just pick a rookie up because how do you know you could trust him?
And unless they've literally indoctrinated him right out of, while
Possibly,
he was at
but
school.
it seems like a risk.
Yeah.
So I would assume it's an agent that they trust, in which case he'd be used to this, so it could just be an act,
I don't know. That was just something I observed, like, when I was watching.
It is interesting.
Like, after the end of the episode, I was reading through my notes and I saw that and I made a note of it because I was like, it doesn't seem to match up with what we know from later on anyway.
It is a very interesting point. I think I'm going to keep an eye out for that. And I'm assuming he's coming back into future episodes. So.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to keep an eye on that. So, yes, Scully starts sort of explaining her findings from the autopsy. And there's a lot of technical terms, but the long and short of it is that Scully goes on to explain that the body has reacted like it's been subjected to intense heat.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that there's no physical injuries that suggest he has.
Yeah. He basically died from burning injuries, but there's no physical signs of burning on the outside.
Just the internal damage.
Yeah.
And I mean, as X-Files like to do, they hit it right on the nose.
Yeah.
She actually says it's as if his body believed he was burning alive. And so now we get a hint of what's going on. I mean, I was interested in the sort of the science of it because there's I can sort of understand this one. I can work my way around this one because the body would have a defense to burning that I would imagine your body can't take. So if it believes it's burning, I'd imagine your body goes into a full defense mode, which would cause injuries. There's one with a gun later on, which I don't believe.
That was my only real problem with this episode is the pseudoscience behind it is, I don't know, it feels a little too far-fetched for me. You know? I can buy an alien flying to this planet in a spaceship and this, that, and the other and abducting people. Because physically, if they have the technology, that could happen. I just can't buy somebody being shot without being shot, you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. But it's like your body reacting to it.
Your body always tries to preserve itself, so I can't buy it.
I can sort of make sense of it.
Yeah.
If I work around it the long way. I just want to point out here that, and we've done it in a few episodes, where we poke holes at sort of pseudoscience, and I know it's so easy to do. Like, again, I'm not a huge fan of myself, but I know, like, obviously Doctor Who's got a huge following, and it's the easiest thing in the world. Like, I'm not a big fan, and I know if I watch an episode, it's so easy for me to just go, well, that's stupid, because look, this wouldn't work, and I know it's so easy, but I feel like if we're analysing critically each episode, it's our duty to point it out. We're not just moaning for the sake of it.
The thing is as well, though, like, the difference between like this and like Doctor Who or Star Trek or something like that is they present a world where this is a creature that can fly through time and space, you know what I mean? They basically set at the stall of, sorry, Siri decided to get involved there. But yeah, they say that this is like a universe where you can fly in and out of time and space and all these different things can happen and anything can happen.
Yeah.
X-Files tries to be a bit more grounded and say,
these
are weird things that happen in the real world. You know what I mean? So to all of us and say, oh, they died because they thought they were shot, and it's like, that can't really happen.
And again, it doesn't take away my enjoyment from the show.
Oh, no.
But I feel like we have to point it out.
Yeah.
Because it's certainly something that ran through my mind, and I know it's something that runs through yours as well.
That's the thing. At the end of the day, we're watching it with an analytical eye, like, so we're going to find these holes. I'm not like saying, "Oh, this was terrible" because
Mulder
of this.
didn't find the holes in the body, though, did he? I was a bit like 2 seconds too late.
Yeah, but never mind. Don't matter. It's fine.
Edit that bit, please.
Yeah, we'll skip it forward. I'm definitely not going to. But yeah, like at the end of the day, we have to have a look and at these analytically, just because of the way we're doing this. But it didn't ruin the actual episode. You know what I mean? Like I didn't find it, these theories didn't ruin it for me. It's just one thing that I was like, I don't buy this.
Yeah, no, I completely understand. We're now in Brooklyn, New York, and another apartment. We see a man. We find out his name's Willig, and he's again watching TV. He seems pretty tired. Yeah. I noticed it.
Yeah.
You find out why, but he does see. He seems knackered.
Yeah.
And we find out also that he has a scar on the back of his neck, like the man from the staircase.
Pans around and sort of you see as he pans past. Yeah.
And speaking of the man from the staircase, he shows up. He appears behind him and tells him that Willig left the door open.
This is where I realised he was Candyman because of his voice.
Yeah.
His voice is so iconic.
And the fact that he anonymously appeared behind somebody.
Yeah, that is true, yeah. Maybe it was that, yeah.
So, but Willig seems to recognise this man and he calls him Preacher. Willig asks him how long he's been in town, but Preacher ignores him. And I feel like you can tell that he's got malicious intent straight away. Like, this isn't a friendly sort of house call.
Yeah. Well, to be fair though, is it malicious to him? Because he's sort of, especially what they say later is he sees himself as like an avenger. You know what I mean? Like, so is this to him a malicious thing?
I think he's angry with them.
Yeah, maybe.
But I think he's angry with himself as well.
Yeah, I think he's just angry at everyone who's attached to that unit.
Yeah, I'd agree. So yeah, they go on. Basically, Willard goes on to discuss his PTSD. And after coming back from the war, they don't specifically mention it just yet, but you can kind of tell that they were both in the war together.
Yeah.
And I figured out it was you can sort of figure out it was the Vietnamese war,
especially in a few minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Willig mentions he sees their faces all the time, and that's all he sees whenever he shuts his eyes. It basically just seems like he's haunted by it. The Preacher tells him they all have to answer for what they did out there. And all of a sudden, we see, Willig sees is what I assume to be the ghosts of Vietnamese people that I assume he killed in the war. That's what it suggests.
That's what it sort of implicates. It's sort of a good cut because it sort of just pans around and you see like all these like looking like dead people just standing there. It's a good like
very Sixth Sense.
Yeah. That's what it felt like. Yeah.
I know what you mean. Obviously, he starts to panic.
Yeah.
Preacher, I don't know whether he sees them or not, but he's very calm and he starts to recite scripture. He tells Willig it's all over now, as the Vietnamese people all raise their rifles at once and open fire on him. And Willig dies from this, despite the fact that we know they're not really there. It's an image.
Yeah.
We're going back to what we were saying earlier. We assume his body's reacted to it like he has been shot.
Yeah.
So later that day, Mulder and Kerchak are looking over the case, and Kerchak notes that the cause of death has been cited as a bursted aneurysm. Burst aneurysm, should I say. That's what he says. And Mulder wonders why this has been sent to them, like it's just a regular murder case. But Kerchak explains that the autopsy revealed 43 internal hemorrhages in his skeletal frame. And these are consistent of gunshot wounds. This is what happens when you get a gunshot wound. It doesn't just happen by accident or by, out of the blue.
Especially 40 odd of them.
yeah. One or two you can put down to a coincidence, but not 43. And then Mulder asks about his scar on the back of his neck, and Kerchak suggests it might have happened in Vietnam. But Mulder then discovers that both Willig and Grissom were both stationed at Paris Island, I believe it was.
Yes. Yeah.
At the same time. So straight away they found a link. So you'd assume these cases are linked at some point. And to confirm this story, they go to New York Library. They're going through the old... I don't know what they're called. Those computers with the slides.
I never remember what they're called.
No, I don't. But like, I'm assuming how it works is they keep newspapers on little slides, don't they?
I think so, yeah. And then,
rather than keep the whole newspaper.
Yeah, and I think it just like blows it up to it's like a big projector, basically.
Yeah, basically. But upon further investigation, Mulder figures out that Willig was assigned at Special Recon Force J7, and this force only has 2 survivors. Willig. Was it Willig? Yeah, it would have been. Yeah, Willig. So Willig was one of the survivors. Now he's obviously not dead. Mm-hmm. So the only person surviving from this unit is Augustus Cole, who we find out is Preacher. So
yes,
Preacher is Augustus Cole's nickname. We jump back to the medical centre, and Mulder and Kerchak are speaking to a doctor about Cole. So obviously he's being kept under, well, he's being receiving treatment, I suppose. And the doctor tells him they won't find Cole very cooperative. He goes on to say that he's been placed in isolation because he was disrupting other people's sleep patterns. But he wouldn't explain how. Mulder does ask, and he just sort of keeps stum.
At this point, I was thinking, is he some kind of like psychic or something like that?
I think that's what you sort of meant to sort of...
Yeah,
I mean, it kind of is.
Yeah, that's
to an extent.
Yeah.
But they open his cell, and Cole has gone. They rush to the nurse on duty, who tells the doctor that, what are you talking about? You signed him out 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And the doctor says, well, I definitely didn't. I would remember that. And the nurse says, well, I was the nurse on duty. I've got your signature to prove it. I was there. You definitely did.
Yeah.
And like this look comes over this doctor's face, and he's like,
uh-oh.
What?
Yeah.
I think Mulder's sort of starting to put pieces together, but the doctor doesn't have a clue what's going on here. But Mulder doesn't have much time to sort of comprehend this because he gets a phone call from X, Mr. X.
Dr. X, some might call him. When he like from Action Man?
Dr. X was, he was
from
Action Man's nemesis. And we are calling Mulder Action Man. Oh, no, it's Ken. It's Ken.
Let's change it.
What's Barbie's nemesis? Does she have a nemesis?
She has a nemesis.
Cindy, isn't it? Ugh.
Yeah, it's just a rival doll, isn't it?
It is, yeah. But Cindy's got a massive head compared to Barbie.
You can't say that about her, can you?
Well, I mean, if she's got a massive head, I can say she's got a massive head. Or I can say Barbie's got a really tiny head, depending on what side of the fence I'm on.
True.
I'm choosing to take Barbie's side at this point.
You would.
So, yeah. Just to clarify, when looking for notes on this episode, they clearly state him as X.
Yeah.
So, I know his name's Mr. X, but I've gone with X.
Yeah.
I figured that's okay.
I mean, to be fair, it's...
You know who I'm talking about. It's not Mulder's ex-girlfriend handing him top secret government information.
He missed the trick with that one, didn't he?
So yeah, X asks Mulder to meet him in secret. Don't, basically, if anyone follows you or you come with anyone, I won't be there.
Yeah.
So he does, and Mulder basically walks into this abandoned stadium all on his own. It looks like it's under construction.
It's huge, isn't it? It's like I thought it said on the script there was a warehouse, and I was like, this is way bigger than a warehouse.
It definitely looks like a stadium.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's a
seating
stadium
around it as well.
But I don't know whether it's been abandoned. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but it's huge.
Yeah, and he finds X lurking in the shadows, and we get our first look at X. Which surprised me. I expected it to be a sort of secret identity for much longer.
Yeah, because when did we see Deep Throat?
We saw Deep Throat in the second episode.
Oh, yeah, true. Yeah, it was quite early on.
It was, yeah. So I suppose they are keeping it sort of in the same sort of vein as Deep Throat.
Yeah.
X tells him he doesn't want to be there, and he hands him an envelope with top secret documents, he says. And he goes on to tell Mulder that the soldiers in the J7 squadron were subjected to tests that were designed to eradicate sleep in an attempt to make a sort of, I want to say super soldier, but I feel like more efficient soldier.
Yeah,
it's like, better.
Essentially, they can just do things that, they're not hindered by anything.
Well, not having to sleep, but they can work 24/7. He tells Mulder there's another surviving member, despite what he found at the library, a Salvatore Matola. Mulder, he goes to walk away, hands him the documents, goes to walk away, and Mulder sort of shouts at him, how can I contact you if I need more information? And X tells him, you just don't get it. Separating Mulder and Scully and disbanding the X-Files was only the beginning, and the truth is still out there. He tells him Deep Throat paid for this knowledge with his life, and it's not a sacrifice he's willing to make.
Yeah, he's definitely not the same as Deep Throat, is he?
No. Deep Throat, I feel, was much more willing to get himself involved for the greater good.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like this guy is doing just as much as he feels he can get away with.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
He's playing it a lot safer, I think. There's a few things in the scene, actually, like, because they mention that they've been... Oh, it mentions that the people who have been undergone this experiment have been awake for, or been unable to sleep for like 24 years, it says, doesn't it?
It does, yes,
It does say that. And they mention it being like a sleep experiment, but like I've heard of other stories of this. It's not a real thing, but have you ever heard of that? I think it was called like the Russian sleep experiment. It's not a real thing. It was like a story.
I've not heard about it.
It's one of these like creepypasta stories like that people come up with, and it's basically about these like a similar kind of thing. Like these 5 Russian soldiers are told that they're put into an experiment where they're like pumped to gas that stops them from sleeping, and they're in this like chamber that's sealed off, and the only contact is through the speaker system to them, basically, and they can speak back. And basically, it just evolves into like, you know, it goes as you'd expect after 5 days, and they start like fighting and they start like throwing shit around, basically. It's like, but then like after, I think it was something like a month or something like that without sleep, they lose contact for like so many days, and then after it comes back, they I can't remember the line that one of the guys talking back to them says, but it's like the creepiest line. And he's like, "Oh, don't worry, we're fine now. Like, you can just let us all out." And
it's like a myth.
No, it's like a story. Just like, it's not a real thing. It's just like an actual story that somebody's created. But it's quite a similar kind of thing of like, it's interesting because it's short. Like,
I mean, talking about like sort of sleep. There used to be this show on British TV. Oh God, I was young when I watched it, so it's got to be going back sort of maybe 16, 18 years now. It was called Shattered on Channel 4.
Okay, I've never heard of this.
It went on for, I think it was 2 weeks, and like I always remember it because you just wouldn't get away with this now. But it was very much a Big Brother type of show, a reality show. But the premise was they couldn't sleep,
right?
So they were kept awake, and they was allowed 15 minutes sleep a day. If you fell asleep for 5 minutes, they'd play it like this blaring alarm to sort of wake you up. And basically, the only way you got eliminated was by counting yourself out or sleeping through the alarm for like 2 minutes. And then they'd have them do tasks. The tasks were some simple tasks like opening a door with a set of keys and finding the right key. But like after 2 weeks, they couldn't do it. Yeah. And like, It was a really interesting show. Like, it was what Big Brother should have been, which is like a social experiment.
Yeah.
Because you had people that was hallucinating after just a week. That's all it took of no sleep. So can you imagine 24 years? I know they're sort of programmed to not need it, but still, oh my God.
Here's a question. Like, I thought of this like as sort of a segment thing, but basically, if this was a real thing and you could actually have this treatment so you didn't have to sleep, but there were no like ill effects, you couldn't, there's no like, do you think you'd go through with it, or do you think like it's too natural of a thing to lose? I mean, I'd certainly want confirmation that there is no side effects. I'd want someone else to do it first. You wouldn't want to be the test pilot.
No, exactly. I mean, if there's no side effects whatsoever, I suppose there's no reason not to. I feel like you get bored.
Yeah.
I feel like you need that sort of time to yourself to like, I don't know.
It's one of those things that when I was like thinking about it, I was like, would I go through it? And I think initially I'd be like, yeah, you get like how many hours of your day back? Like if you sleep 8 hours a day,
it'd be so productive.
You get 8 hours of your day back a lot, you know, and there's so much you can do. But I get the feeling the longer it goes on, the more you'd miss sleeping. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like just the natural sleep.
Which, I mean, like dreaming. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Yeah. I don't think I would. I don't think I'd go through with it.
I think it's just one of those things that like, I don't know, you don't want to mess too much with how things are naturally, you know what I mean?
No. If there was a pill where I could take it in place of one sleep, I'd take that like 2-3 times a week.
Or even, if there was,
do you know what I mean?
If there was like a pill where it says, you could get like a full rest on 15 minutes worth of sleep.
Yeah.
Perfect. Like,
Give me that, and I'll take that as well. I'll probably take it 100 times a year. Do you know what I mean?
We get through these podcasts easy. Wouldn't have to worry about note taking. Some people are like, shit, it's fine. But I feel like if it wasn't a permanent solution, it'd be more attractive.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think I would miss sleep.
Yeah, because there's just sometimes where you're just like, I just want to get in bed now.
Yeah, it's a good feeling.
Yeah,
So anyway, we'll get back to the show. So after this meeting with X, Mulder's in his car and he picks up Kerchak, and Kerchak basically reports to Mulder that the police have Cole cornered. Quick developments. Cole robbed a drugstore, and they've got him cornered in this sort of apartment block, I suppose. Mulder and Kerchak arrive on the scene, and all of a sudden, as they're running up the stairs, we hear 2 gunshots.
Yeah.
And the police officer mentions that they both shot themselves. The 2 officers shot each other. Mulder races past the bodies of these officers and sees the window open, and as he looks out the window, we can see Cole sort of hiding behind a wall.
Sliding away, basically.
Yeah, and he's been making his escape. We cut now to Scully's reporting. So it's sort of
we get a Scully report.
We do, her inner monologue. And she's looking through the documents, basically, which we assume Mulder's faxed over to her. She notes that the report describes a procedure to create a permanent waking state, which is what X was talking about, and which would also explain the scars on the back of the necks. She suggests that Cole may have robbed antidepressants as a counter to the effects of prolonged lack of sleep. So they need something to sort of...
Was it serotonin?
It's basically a form of antidepressants, and they need something to counter the side effects of no sleep. She then gets a call from Mulder, and she tells him that the procedure doesn't explain why the police officers shot each other. That doesn't make sense. Like, it's got nothing to do with them. There's a bit of back and forth, but basically Mulder theorises that Cole... it's a big jump. But he theorises that Cole has developed the ability to project his subconscious onto other people. And he believes that in all the years of sleeplessness, Cole has managed to build a bridge in his mind to deal with the sleeplessness.
Yeah.
And then that allows him to externalise his dreams.
Yeah.
This is a big leap.
This is where
even for Mulder.
This is where I started like tapping out of like the science behind it.
Yeah.
It's like, again, if this was like a fantasy show, I could buy that he's making dreams real and stuff like that. But this is trying to ground itself in the real world, and it's just like that. You can't do that. It's like...
It doesn't make sense, does it? Yeah. Even in pseudoscience, like, I can run with it if it's logical.
Yeah. If they were saying, like, I don't know, even if they just said he was psychic and was, like, sending images to them. Yeah. Like, not saying... But the way they've made it is that he's actually, like, turning dreams real. And it's like, I don't know. It's weird.
And that's what he is doing, because all the people that die are dying because of their fears, their nightmares. Yeah. So, it's very strange. Yeah. But we don't have to listen to too much more of this because Kerchak interrupts, and Scully makes a comment about how Mulder's new partner seems to be working out great. Yeah. I love this little scene again. I love any little sort of moments between these two, because I want them back together. I would as partners.
I know, and I just don't know when it's going to happen.
I hope it happens sooner rather than later. I think when it happens, we'll get the X-Files back to the same episode.
Yeah.
But Mulder tells her he's much more open to extreme possibilities than he thought. As he says, and Scully says, me? As me? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
But then he corrects her and says than he thought he would be. And Scully tells him it must be nice not having someone doubt him all the time.
Yeah.
Which Mulder says he's surprised he put up with her for so long. And this was heartbreaking because they both laugh, and then there's this just... It's like a 2-second pause, but there's this overwhelming sadness between the two of them as they remember a good memory, and then it's just taken away from them because they don't have it anymore. It's so sad.
That's the thing. He's definitely no Scully. This guy he's not a replacement for, and it just makes you want them.
Yeah, and they both know it as well. They both know that they miss each other, and I just want them to say it. But they eventually hang up after this moment of sadness, and we cut to a cafe. And we're there to meet, well, I say we're there, we wasn't in the show. Mulder and Kerchak are there to meet Salvatore. Is it Salvatore or Salvatore?
I'm not sure. I think it was Salvatore.
I've heard Salvatore,
Yeah.
but like I've heard also Salvatore Leone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like like GTA and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So.
I guess I don't know. I guess
Salvatore sounds like the Italian way to say it. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, really, it's how they pronounce it. I don't know. I don't know what one's the correct way, if at all.
All I know is we can be safe. They're there to meet Sal.
There we go. Did you see what was on the menu, by the way? They had a grilled pork chop special, which sounds amazing.
Is that what you was looking at?
Yeah, I saw the menu. I saw that on top of the menu. I was like, oh, yeah, I could do with some grilled pork chop
I
special.
don't like pork.
Do you not?
No. I don't mind pulled pork, but I'd never choose it.
I like pork.
I'd always take chicken, I think.
Yeah. I don't know. I've grown... I mean, what's this? Our meat cast now. Let's not come up with a name for that.
No. What would our... it would be our meat...
Meet me in the middle.
The meat podcast.
Grilled chicken podcast.
Why is it just grilled chicken?
Because we've got to have a niche.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, we don't want to be too broad.
Yeah.
Meet me in the middle. I like it.
In the middle.
We are making all these, right?
Yep.
What's your favourite meat? Is it pork?
No, probably like beef or steak or something like that.
Yeah, I like a bit of steak.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of lamb.
Sorry
either.
to-
Like I can eat it.
Sorry to any vegetarians out there who are just like wincing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What's your favourite vegetable?
Good old potato.
Really?
Yeah,
Does that count as a vegetable? Really?
It's brown. It's nice.
Oh, I like. To be fair, I like sweet potato. I like sweet potato.
I hate sweet potato.
What? Oh, sweet potato's so good. Sweet potato fries. And mash. Boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew. That's a Lord of the Rings reference for you.
Yes, it was.
Should we get back to X-Files?
Yep.
Yeah, let's do that right now.
As I'm looking at the clock. It's 11:30.
So yeah, Sal initially thinks they are there to kill him before they introduce themselves, which Mulder's like, why? Why would you think we're here to kill
I think
you?
it's because he puts his hand in his pocket.
I mean, yeah, he does. Yeah, he really...
Like, to be fair, if you're paranoid like he is, then you probably think he's going to Glock me.
But once he realises, he's just grabbing his sort of ID badge, he agrees to talk to them. And as he turns, Mulder notices the same scar on the back of his neck. Sal explains the effects of sleeplessness, tells them they would take pills to take away the tiredness. And he recalls J7, Squadron J7, eventually ended up going AWOL. And Mulder asks who was in charge, and they said no one was in charge. Yeah. We created missions for ourselves. Yeah. Which is kind of scary. Sounds like they're playing like a video game, you know what I mean?
Do you know what? With Vietnam, it's like, with every other war beforehand, you hear like horror stories, but you always hear like, the people who were proud and, they fought this war and it was for whatever reason. Vietnam just sounds like misery on every side.
Yeah, you don't hear many good stories.
It's literally, it's either America shouldn't be there, the Vietnamese didn't want them there, and it was just.
I can't say I know too much about it. I'm not going to pretend. Yeah,
I'm not an expert.
But I don't think I've ever heard a good story about Vietnam.
Yeah.
But yeah, he tells them they took it into their own hands and eventually turning to killing civilians. And he also goes on to say that they attacked a school full of kids once, which again, he seemed pretty haunted by this, which I'd imagine you would be.
Yeah.
Mulder tells them that they think Cole is responsible for the killings, and Sal says that they used to call him Preacher because even at the time he used to read from the Bible and tell them all one day they would pay for their crimes, which seems strange considering he was doing this as well.
Yeah.
It wasn't just them. He was part of this.
It reminds me of the Punisher. Do you know the character of the Punisher?
Yeah.
The way he does it, because I think initially in the comics and that, he's a Vietnam vet. And he's the same thing. Like, he's done all these bad things, but he externalizes it as everyone else is wrong. You know what I mean? Especially in the what's it called? The Punisher Max series and stuff. He has this kind of... It's quite good because it sort of looks at it as he is a terrible human being.
Yeah.
doing these terrible things, and it's like it tries to not glamorize him.
It's like in his own mind, he's trying to sort of be the better person. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
even though he's doing terrible things. Yeah,
he's trying to justify it in a way.
To be fair, like off on a tangent again here, Punisher Max, like as a series, so good because it completely demolishes the idea of Punisher as a hero. You know what I mean? Like, you do see people like sort of glamorizing. It's like Punisher Max makes him a monster. Even though he's the hero, he is not a hero. You know what I mean? But,
to be fair, I love it when Punisher sees that dark side of him.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, I digress.
So I mean, the last little bit of this scene was Sal goes on to tell them that Dr. Grissom and a Dr. Francis Girardi, which we've not heard before, are responsible for performing these experiments, and basically he admits to them, like Cole, that he's not slept for 24 years, and it's because of them too.
Yeah.
We then cut to the Long Island Expressway. Mulder and Kerchak are stuck in a traffic jam, and they're basically discussing what they're going to do next. And Mulder does determine that Girardi is going to be Cole's next victim, which makes sense if he's going after everyone involved in that squadron. Kerchak asks why now. After all these years, why would he suddenly start going after them for revenge? And Mulder notes that Fubai, which was where the school was that Sal talks about earlier, it was one of the bloodiest massacres of the war, of the 300 children slaughtered, and it's the 24th anniversary of the massacre. It was 2 days ago, so it makes sense. It's a logical link as to why it's happening now. Scully then calls Mulder and tells him that she's found the Girard. Is it Girard or Girardi?
Girardi, I think.
Girardi. She's found Girardi, and he's a professor of neurosurgery at Harvard. She goes on to mention that he's travelling to New York for Grissom's funeral.
Yeah,
nice and convenient.
Yeah, they've sort of got to try and catch him on the train, basically, haven't they? I noticed at this point that Scully was doing a lot of sitting down.
yeah.
Still,
she's the woman in the chair. She's like the oracle to Batman.
Exactly what I just thought. Then I was like, it's Oracle.
Yeah, basically. Mulder asks her to get a photo ready so when they arrive at the train station so they can find him. So they're searching the train station. They're not finding anything right now. They sort of split off.
They have a picture of Girardi, and he kind of looks like John Landis. Like at a quick glance, I was like, "Who are they looking for?" I mean, the guy himself later on looks nothing like him. But this one headshot kind of does.
At a glance, it really does. Yeah. They split up, and Mulder eventually finds Girardi walking away from the train. But Cole is behind them, and he shoots both Girardi and Mulder. Assume dead.
Yeah, looks
like it.
At this point, I was like, this is the second time Mulder's been shot.
Yeah.
And I mean, it turns out he doesn't, but...
Which is annoying.
Yeah.
Because the pseudoscience doesn't work then.
Yeah.
Because Mulder's just dreamt he's been shot. Why doesn't his body think he's been shot?
That's a good point, actually. I didn't even think of that.
You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense. It's not consistent.
That's true, yeah.
But again, I digress. Actually, I don't digress. That's exactly on point. But, I don't want to go on about it again. Anyway, Kerchak finds Mulder. He's unconscious, but he wakes up. And Kerchak's like, where is he? Mulder's like, where is he? Panicking. Yeah. But Kerchak says he wasn't there.
Yeah.
You started waving your gun about like a madman. Nobody was there.
Yeah.
And Mulder doesn't really believe it. He fights his case, but I reckon in his head he's like,
he's starting to realise.
Oh God, it's happened to me. Yeah. What?
No, it's just easy. Oh God, it's happened to me. It's in like Alan Partridge.
But Mulder still wants to confirm. He insists on reviewing the security footage.
Yeah.
And they discover an anomaly. An anomaly on track 17.
Yeah.
So they go to investigate.
Yeah, there's like a car or something that wasn't there, isn't there? Or something like that.
Yeah, and it sort of cuts out and then comes back and it's not there. And so obviously they need to investigate. But they do mention that this track 17 was abandoned. It's not used anymore. So obviously they make their way there. And in the meantime, we see Girardi tied up
Yeah.
and basically being provoked by Cole.
Yeah. I thought at this point, like, when you see this bit, I realised how cinematic this episode felt.
Yeah.
I don't know why, it felt a lot more like a film than, like, some of the other episodes have.
They go out of their way to be creative with the way they're introducing things. Like you say, like Cole appearing behind, is it Willock?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the Vietnamese, children just stood there and it does feel like they, and even this scene with the shadows.
There's a lot of the shots in this as well, like where the camera work like is quite dynamic and just how it shoots stuff, and it does feel like a self-contained film, like a 45-minute film, I guess, like of a film version of the X-Files. So if this is how like the film eventually looks, like when we get to, I can't remember,
you wouldn't be disappointed with it.
It would kind of make sense.
Yeah,
but yeah.
So yeah, Cole's mocking him and taunting him, I suppose. He tells him he knows what's coming because Girardi basically says, I can't see without my glasses. And he says, you don't need your eyes to see, you know what's coming. Yeah. And it turns out to be Squad J7.
Essentially, yeah.
We know some of them are dead, so we know this isn't an illusion. But they all walk in and they all grab scalpels. And Mulder and Kerchak actually, we cut to them discovering Girardi's body moments after the attack, we assume.
Yeah, it sort of like fades to black as they all like sort of pick up these scalpels.
Yeah, including Cole. Cole picked up a scalpel as well.
Yeah.
Again, talking about revenge, talking about how he deserves this.
It doesn't really explain what happens to Girardi after this.
No, I assume he's dead, to be honest.
They sort of mention... Well, they find him later on and he's alive.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. And they mention that he's disfigured, but it doesn't really say how.
Yeah.
I don't know what
Well, I mean, if he's been attacked with scalpels, you'd imagine he would be.
Oh,
actually, no, he's not been attacked with scalpels, has he?
Yeah.
Well, his body thought he'd been attacked by scalpels. I hate this pseudoscience, man. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
How would his skin's cut open then?
Yeah, but they said, like, externally nothing would happen.
It doesn't happen, so how is he disfigured?
Unless they got his eyes. I don't know.
Got his eyes internally?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
It makes no sense.
Yeah.
Disfigured emotionally.
War is disgusting with emotional scars, to be fair.
So, yeah, where was we? Kerchak decides to stay with Girardi and Mulder pursues Cole. And Mulder eventually catches up to Cole. It doesn't take a lot. Cole is just stood there.
It looked as like The Fugitive I found with this.
Yeah,
He's standing on the edge. And,
it did. Only a much shorter drop.
Yeah.
He's just in a train cart.
See, when the camera panned up initially, there was this big metal spike or this big metal like pole, and I thought, oh, he's gonna like jump onto that
and land onto it. Yeah,
kill himself. But
didn't use that. Didn't go down that route. Yeah. So yeah, Mulder basically tries to say you don't need to do this. Like, I think he gets the feeling Cole's going to do something drastic, take his own life maybe, and he's saying we can help you. We can. If with your help, we could even sort of try and get the people responsible, as in the military, the people who've done this to you. With your help, we can testify against them.
Yeah.
But Kerchak then appears, gun raised.
Yeah.
He seems a little bit nervy. I knew it straight away what was going to happen.
He's got an itchy trigger finger, isn't he?
It looks like it, yeah. But it's not without reason, because Cole then holds up a Bible. That's what Mulder sees, but what Kerchak sees is a gun pointing at Mulder. And Kerchak takes a shot. Yeah. And again, kill shots.
They don't mess around, do they?
They don't, bang, straight in the head. There's no messing about. Shoots him, kills him. They both rush over to the body. I liked this scene because Kerchak he's a little bit overwhelmed, and and I think he starts looking for the gun, doesn't he?
He does panic. I think he's looking around the body, looking for the gun.
I think that he doesn't specifically say that, but I think he's looking for the gun, justifying why he took the shot. Yeah. And he says to Mulder, because Mulder does ask him not to shoot before he does shoot. Yeah. Because Mulder figures out what's going on. And he says to Mulder, well, I had no option. He was pointing a gun at you. I had to take the shot. And Mulder sort of looks, realises what's happened. And I think in Mulder's head, he's like, if I tell him that he hasn't got a gun, this is going to mess him up for life.
Yeah, he sort of covers for him, basically.
So he does. He sort of says, you did the right thing. And I think that was the right thing to do for Mulder as well, because, like I said, as far as Mulder knows, this is just a green agent, fresh off training. That would destroy his career.
Yeah.
And it's not his fault. He knows it's not his fault.
He's looking out for him, even though, he hasn't trusted him so far. I did like Cole's last line as well in this, where he just says good night and sort of looks up like it's finally he's getting the rest that he's been looking for. You know?
Yeah, it's a nice little moment. Actually, it's a very good point.
Yeah.
Because he does mention, like when he's pointing the gun at Mulder, he mentions that the air hitting his skin is hurting him. No one can understand what it feels like to be this tired.
Yeah.
He's just so extremely tired, and he wants it to end.
Yeah, and basically. I think at this point he was going to either kill himself or somebody was going to kill him.
Yeah.
He was going to die either way. I think his mission was done. He'd punished everyone in his squad, I guess. So, yeah.
After this, Mulder then goes back to his car. He realises that the documents have gone.
Yeah, because he hid them under his car seat.
He did, yeah. They've gone missing now. And we then cut to Scully back at her office. Mulder's obviously gone there looking for the facts. And her office was broken into as well. So I'm just like, come on, guys. You've got to find a better way to hide evidence at this point. This has happened far too often. Anything at all. Like, there's got to be a way you can hide it.
I'm pretty sure this happened in the very first episode, wasn't it? Like, they burnt all their evidence. Yeah.
It's happened so many times. And I'm just like, just anywhere.
Keep it on your body. You know?
Yeah, anything. Just tattoo it to yourself. Like, I don't... There's got to be...
Rick style.
Make 7 different copies. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, hide them anywhere and everywhere. I don't know. Just there's got to be a way that you don't get every bit of evidence taken away from you. But they do... I mean, Scully notes that without that evidence, Skinner's not going to authorise any investigation. They've got nothing to go on. It would just be a wild goose chase at this point. And Mulder tells Scully about the man that leaked the report. Said it's dangerous. He's the one who's been helping him. And he does tell her he actually met him. Yeah. And Mulder says that what he said about the X-Files, that it was just the beginning, and that they're now in greater danger than they've ever been.
Which Scully looks scared by this. Like, you can tell that it's sort of, she realises she's right in the firing line, basically.
And the final question she asks is, do you trust him? And to which he replies, don't trust anyone. No, he doesn't. That's me. That's what I would have replied. Mulder just looks sulkily into the distance.
Yeah, he sort of goes quiet.
Yeah.
He should have said, don't trust anyone, though.
I mean, really. For someone who doesn't trust anyone, he trusts a lot of people. Yeah, he does trust so many people, doesn't he?
Trusts more than you would think. Trusty Mulder.
And then there's one more scene. Now, this was a shocker.
Yeah, I didn't see this coming.
No, I didn't. This turned me around. We see Kerchak in a meeting with Cigarette Smoking Man.
And 2 other people.
Yes, 2 other people. It's not just Cigarette Smoking Man.
Yeah, I mean, in the script that I sort of read, they were listed as the Consortium. I don't know if that's the official name for them.
I've not heard it myself, but then again, I've never heard Cigarette Smoking Man until you brought it up, so...
I do wonder if we're meant to know this, name.
I don't think so, not yet. I think we're just... we've picked up on it through...
I mean, to be honest, it probably doesn't matter too much. It's just a name for the collective. We know that these are going to be... Well, we know that Cigarette Smoking Man is involved in some...
Yeah, pivotal figure.
Yeah.
So Cigarette Smoking Man asks him where he got the tape, and Kerchak says, I don't know. Which, again, immediately I'm like, oh, he's working with them? Yeah, he's reporting back everything that he's found out?
Exactly, so has this, naive, I'm just out of Quantico.
Doesn't fly anymore, does it?
Exactly.
Doesn't seem right. But yeah, Kerchak says he's either found another source, or another source has found him. But he says that if he can recommend something, you'll see that I have outlined several countermeasures. So I assume we're going to be seeing more of this guy, because he seems to be actively trying to stop Mulder getting information from his source.
Especially if he's his new partner as well. For now, could he be sort of working in the background to sort of sabotage his case?
Yeah, it's possible. There is another interesting note, which Cigarette Smoking Man asks about Scully, and Kerchak says that basically she's a much larger problem than you've described. He really ramps up how important Scully is to Mulder, which we all knew, but they didn't know.
Yeah, and I think now they're realising that Mulder has he has something to use as leverage against him.
Yeah, which doesn't bode well for Scully, especially not with the last line from Cigarette Smoking Man, which is, every problem has a solution, and then he does his... people around him must get sick of this stubbing the cigarette out trick. We get it, it's dramatic, I get it. But he does that again, and...
So melodramatic, this Cigarette Smoking Man.
Yeah, this didn't feel good for Scully.
No, she's right in the path of danger at the moment, isn't she?
She certainly is, and you know what I first thought? My first thought was, Luke's prediction might come right.
What was my prediction again? That she'd get kidnapped?
That Mulder would get a solo episode.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like Scully won't be in the next episode.
Ooh.
I feel like she'll disappear all of a sudden.
Maybe. But I get the feeling, when I said solo episode, that she was just not going to be visible in it at all. But I get the feeling she is going to be, even in the ones that she's going to be removed from, like this, she's going to be in it.
Of course.
Yeah,
We don't know if she
I'm
is,
not
but-
sure. But if she is, I get the feeling she'll still be in it as, like, at the end of the episode, like, oh no,
Yeah.
I'm here. No, like, not like that, but you know.
It would be a bit slapstick for X-Files, to be honest.
yeah. Well, after Blood, I don't know what we got in store, but yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see.
Yeah, but that is the end of this episode. What did you think?
I quite like this episode, actually. I thought it was quite cinematic, as I mentioned earlier. I really liked Cole as a character. I thought he was he just played it perfectly. This creepy, punishing sort of like figure. It was really good, and it was also really good that we saw at the end some more faces of this conspiracy. We now know that it's not just Cigarette Smoking Man. There's these other two people involved as well as Krychek, which was a good twist. I was missing Scully's involvement here again, and I really am wishing that we bring her back. And as we mentioned, the pseudoscience in this did really... It was a little wishy...
It took away from the episode, didn't it?
It was a little wishy-washy, like in how there was like, oh, this happened, and it's like, yeah, a lot of stuff didn't add up, but it was a lot like... have you ever seen Jacob's Ladder?
I haven't.
The story in that's quite similar. Well, it's not similar, but it's got the same themes about like Vietnam War and like hallucinations and this kind of stuff. So it was sort of similar to that story. So, but yeah, I mean, it was its own different spin, and it definitely wasn't like Ice, how it was like quite similar to the thing and stuff. It was quite different, but it did remind me of that a bit. But I did quite like this episode actually. How about yourself?
Well, I think this is a landmark moment for this podcast.
Oh my!
I think for the first time, we completely disagree.
Oh,
I didn't like this episode.
Okay, really?
Yeah, I didn't think it was a bad episode, but I certainly didn't think it was a good epised. I feel like if you take the I wasn't a fan of the pseudoscience, and again, we've both commented on that.
Yeah.
And it just didn't make sense to me, and it just for the sake of making it sci-fi, they just forced it in. It doesn't make any sense. It really didn't. So I sort of discounted it, and then I realised if you discount it, I just thought it was a boring story.
Yeah.
If you discount the pseudoscience, it's just a guy going around to other people's houses and killing them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean, yeah.
The one good thing I would say is I enjoyed the Kerchak storyline.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it once I knew the twist. Because that made me look back more fondly on the interactions beforehand.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
if I'm quite honest, I was bored throughout this episode.
Yeah.
I really didn't enjoy it.
That's fair enough. I can understand. It was one of those where I think for me it was more the character of Cole and like that story of them as a unit was more interesting to me than the actual science of the story around it. But yeah, I can understand if it wasn't one of those where it was thrilling. Again, it wasn't my favourite episode, but I did enjoy it, to be fair.
And it's nice to disagree for once.
Yeah. If you disagree at home with either of us, let us know.
Yeah, definitely let us know. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, the weird thing is that some of the most of the correspondence we get, I don't think anyone's inclined to email in and say, I hated this episode. Yeah. You're much more inclined to get in touch if you really enjoyed an episode because you want to talk about stuff that you love.
I think it's always better to talk about things that you enjoy. Like,
it's a good positive way to live your life, I suppose.
Yeah, There's too, especially with the internet these days. There's that much there's that many avenues for just misery.
Yeah.
It's like, do we need any more? Like, you know what I mean?
No, yeah. Which is, to be fair, I mean, a little behind the curtain peek here. When we started this podcast, we literally said we don't want to be every other podcast. I mean, I say every other podcast out there. I'm not just going to throw a blanket over everyone. Yeah. But there's so many podcasts out there that are just there to take the mick and just basically just tear apart shows. Mm-hmm. And we said we didn't want to be that. We wanted to find the positives. And of course, we're going to comment on the negatives. We have to. Yeah. That's what we're here to do. But we also celebrate the great things about the show and find what we liked about it.
And even if something sucked, we'll laugh at it.
We'll laugh at it and have a good time. Yeah.
There's no point just going, this is terrible.
Well, I don't want to listen to those podcasts because I don't enjoy them. I enjoy listening to people talk about what they love. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And we're loving doing this podcast and we're loving watching X-Files. So yeah. I mean, that was our philosophy, and I feel like we've achieved that over the last. 31 episodes now?
Yeah, 31 this one.
Yeah. So and this one is sadly coming to an end. Do you know what the title is for the next one?
Yes. It's called Dwayne Berry, I think.
Yeah. All I can think of is the spaced episode. It's Dwayne Bancy.
I hear there's a very iconic shot of Mulder in this episode.
Oh, is he naked?
Not naked.
Oh.
But maybe disrobed.
Oh, well, I look forward to that.
I think it's this one because I was looking at the Simpsons crossover with the X-Files, and there's a bit in that sort of references it.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, I didn't know where it was from because I saw the shot and I was like, I don't understand that. I looked at it, and apparently it's from this episode. So it's a bit weird now. I'm looking forward to
it. Well, we'll find out next week.
Yeah. So
to close the show. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Just type in Most Unwanted Podcast in the search bars, and you'll find us. We're usually the first one that comes up. And you can email us at mostunwantedpodcast@gmail.com. Get in touch. Let us know what you're thinking. Future shows, past shows, or just generally your thoughts on the X-Files. But apart from all that, I guess it's farewell from me and Luke this week. Did I say that we're getting on with the show?
I cut you off. Sorry.
What's funny to say now?
Just say, anyway, on with the show or something.
That feels weird.
You do realise that I edited together so it sounds natural.
On with the show.
Okay, I don't know if I can...
I can't help you there.
On with the show!
Let the show begin!
Okay, I'll keep that one in.
Yeah, keep that one in. And that's our intro.
Oh god, out of nowhere, that...
It's terrifying.